Welcome to another lecture on the subject fluid mechanics. So far we have seen what is meant by a fluid, the engineering definition of the fluid, that is a substance that deforms continuously under the action of a shear force, or also we can say that it occupies the shape of the container in which it belongs to. That means if we apply a shear force, it continuously deforms and the shear stress is being developed. So that is a fluid, and also at the molecular level it has got high kinetic energy or high level of momentum exchange between the molecules. And now we will discuss some of the properties of fluids with respect to fluid mechanics. And before explaining about the properties, we should understand what is a state variable. The state variables are generally termed as properties, variables which are specific to the particular state of the system. And also we have seen such a definition in thermodynamics subject also. And all these state variables or the properties are defined on a continuous distribution of matter only, or continuum mass only. These properties are defined. So we know what is continuum. That means there should be minimum number of molecules in order to define the property of a system. Okay, that is a macroscopic concept. The first property is mass density. That means simply it is density, it is mass divided by volume, kilogram per meter cube. The second one is weight density, that is weight of unit volume of fluid. The unit is Newton per meter cube or kilogram force per meter cube. And also we should know the conversion between Newton and kilogram. So 1 Newton is 9.81 kilogram force, that is W, as we know it is M into G. So M is in kilogram and G is in meter per second square. So G is 9.81. So 1 Newton is 9.81 kilogram force. And the third property is specific volume. Specific volume in the sense volume of unit mass of the fluid. Volume of unit mass or volume divided by mass, that is meter cube per kilogram, and obviously that is 1 by density, reciprocal of density, because density is mass by volume. Mass density is mass by volume. So specific mass is mass density. So what is specific mass? It is mass of unit volume. Mass of unit volume means mass divided by volume, that is mass density. So specific volume is volume of unit mass, and specific mass is mass of unit volume, that is mass density. And the fourth property is specific gravity, also known as relative density. How it is defined? It is the mass density of the given fluid divided by mass density of water. So at normal conditions we know that mass density of water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube, or in CGS system it is 1 gram per cc. So density of any fluid is expressed relative to water. For example, if we take mercury, the density is, the relative density or specific gravity is 13.6. That means the density of mercury is 13.6 into 10 raised to 3 kilogram per meter cube. That means mercury is 13.6 times heavier than that of water. Similarly, oil, if the specific gravity is 0.8, that means oil is lighter than water. So 0.8 specific gravity means the density is 0.8 into 1000, that will give 800 kilogram per meter cube. And the next important property is vapor pressure. So we have studied in basic physics vaporization or evaporation of liquids. That means when the temperature increases of a liquid increases above a particular level, that liquid starts evaporating and the vapors are formed. So we are dealing with vaporization of liquids, and let us see what is happening while a liquid is evaporating. So if we have liquid in a metallic container and if we heat it, what happens? The molecules get more kinetic energy due to the supplied heat energy, and it moves up because of low density, and it reaches the top of the surface, liquid surface, and it exerts a pressure known as a vapor pressure. Okay, two phenomena happens if you are heating continuously. The one is two processes happens actually. The first process is movement of the liquids from the bulk of liquid molecules from the bulk of the liquid to the surface. That happens if you are continuously heating. The molecules get more kinetic energy, and because of low density it moves up, reaches the top of the liquid surface and tries to enter into the atmosphere. At the same time, the formed vapor on the liquid surface, and it tries to re-enter into the liquid. So two things. One tries to enter into the atmosphere, and the vapor that tries to re-enter into the liquid itself. So at equilibrium, these two processes are at equilibrium, and the pressure, corresponding pressure, if these two processes are in equilibrium, is termed as equilibrium pressure, and that is termed as saturation vapor pressure. So you should understand what is saturation vapor pressure of a liquid. If these two processes are in equilibrium, we say that the vapor pressure is, the vapor is in saturated condition. The vapor is in saturated condition, or the pressure prevailing is saturation vapor pressure, designated as PVS. So obviously, if pressure at any location of a liquid is less than its saturation vapor pressure, the boiling starts, or boiling takes place. So let us see the saturation vapor pressure of some of the liquids. For example, benzene, it is 1 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. For water, it is, for benzene it is 1 into 10 raised to 4 Pascal. For example, for water it is 1 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal at 100 degrees Celsius. So we express saturation properties, for example saturation pressure, with respect to a particular temperature. Similarly, what is saturation temperature? That also expressed with respect to a particular pressure. So at 1 bar pressure, we say that the saturation temperature of water is 100 degrees Celsius. That means at 1 bar, if temperature of water increases above 100 degree, the vapor starts boiling. Similarly, at 100 degrees Celsius, if the vapor pressure of water is below, just below 1 bar, it starts boiling. That means 1 bar is the saturation vapor pressure of water. So that 1 bar means 101.325 kilopascal, or 1 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. So you should know this conversion. So you should have an understanding of the relative values of saturation vapor pressure for different liquids: water, kerosene, alcohol, benzene, carbon tetrachloride, etc. Okay. And the next property. So before proceeding further, we'll do a task. Deduce the units SI, MKS and CGS, units of the following: force, pressure, stress, power, etc. So this will give you a better understanding of the conversion of units, or unit conversion from SI to MKS or SI to CGS, etc. For doing problems and numericals, it is preferable to follow the SI unit only. See, if you take force, force is mass into acceleration, so it is kilogram meter per second square. Okay, what is pressure? It is the normal compressive force per unit area, so force divided by area. Okay, so now it is Newton per meter square. So you should be able to deduce the units of each and every properties given here: force, pressure, stress, etc. These are, everything are not properties, but you should be able to deduce the units of force, pressure, stress. Stress is what? Stress is pressure itself. Normal pressure is normal compressive force. Stress is any force acting on a unit area. Power, that also you should be able to. Energy, force through a particular displacement. Mass density, that is a property. Kilogram per meter cube. Mass, maybe in kilograms or grams or pounds. Surface tension also. Viscosity and surface tension we will discuss in the later sections. So please do this. Next we'll discuss an important property, that is called viscosity. To be more correctly, we'll term this viscosity as dynamic viscosity. So this is alternatively termed as fluid friction. So friction, solid friction we have seen in engineering mechanics or applied mechanics. That means if a particular block, for example this blue block, is sliding over a surface marked in green color, what happens? Left to right is a movement of the blue block, so there is a frictional force existing between the contact surface of blue and contact surface of green. There is a frictional force, a shear opposite to the direction of movement of the block, and that is from the right to left hand side direction. So that is a frictional force. Here it is a sliding friction, and you have seen a rolling friction also in some cases. So this friction applies to fluids known as fluid friction or viscosity. So this viscosity applies to fluids can be expressed in a different way. The fluids are composed of different layers. You can assume to be composed of different layers, infinitesimally small thickness layers. So each layer is gliding over the other layer. So viscous fluid is what the liquid is having viscosity, means the different layers are having different velocity when a shear force is applied, because viscosity is such a property that one layer is trying to push back the layer just above it. That means it offers a viscous resistance on the fluid layer just above it. That means it is pulling back the layer above it, and that particular layer is pulling back the layer just above it, which is against the shear force. Okay, so suppose a fluid layer is in contact with a solid surface. So what is shown here is a solid surface. You see, what is the velocity of the solid surface? V. It is 0. So the layer that is most adjacent to the solid surface is at rest, because it is in contact with the solid boundary. That is known as no slip condition. That means liquid layer or fluid layer very adjacent to the solid has 0 velocity, no slip condition. So what happens to the velocity of the layer above it? Because of the property of viscosity and because of the process of developing viscous resistance between the different layers, the velocity is not the same for different layers. One layer is pulling back the layer above it. That means it is offering a viscous resistance, so its velocity reduces. So from bottom to top layer there is a velocity profile. Okay, the bottommost layer is at a 0 velocity, and the layer just above it is having a higher velocity, and that goes on. And free stream velocity is the velocity of the layer at the surface if it is an open channel flow. That means velocity increases as we move away from the solid boundary. Okay, that means, for example, as a fluid is viscous, the bottommost layer pulls back the layer just above it against the flow. This is with respect to an open channel flow. What is meant by open channel flow? That means the surface of the fluid is open to atmosphere. You can apply this to a pipe flow also. Pipe flow is a closed conduit flow. So what we have just said is that different layers of fluid are having different velocities because of the viscosity property. That means velocity at a particular cross section is not uniform, but it varies from 0 to maximum. So the bottommost layer offers a shear force to flow the layer just above it. That means we have two layers which are having two different velocities, and there is a viscous resistance between the two. That means there is a shear stress existing between the two layers. So why this shear stress is developed in a viscous fluid flow? This shear stress is developed because of the property of viscosity. So when a viscous fluid is flowing, maybe in an open channel, through an open channel, or maybe through a pipe, in both the cases, if a viscous fluid is flowing, because of the fluid friction property or viscosity property, there is a force of resistance exists between the layers in the opposite direction of flow, and that produces what? A shear stress between the two layers. Two layers, two velocities, and shear stress exists between the two. This is the profile of velocity for a pipe flow. You see this? At the solid boundary, as I said, because of the no slip condition, the velocity of fluid is 0. And it increases and is maximum at the center. So it's a parabolic velocity profile. It needs not be parabolic always, but the general trend is 0 at the boundary and it increases at the center. So the layer which is at the center of the pipe, middle of the pipe, is having maximum velocity. So where will be the shear stress maximum? The shear stress is maximum at the solid boundary because there is a effect of shear force maximum. So shear stress always follows the opposite pattern of velocity. We will discuss more on this later. So this is with respect to a open channel flow. That means the upper surface of flow is open to atmospheric pressure. So U is known as the free stream velocity, or the velocity with which a fluid is flowing through an open channel. So you know the open channel. So at the solid boundary, velocity is 0 and it increases like this. So there is a smooth progression in velocity from 0 to the free stream type. So this is effect of viscosity. So you should understand what is a viscosity, or what do you understand by the viscosity property. That means different fluids are having different values of viscosity. You know that oil is more viscous than water, you know, and honey, that is also more viscous than water, and you have rubber paint, that is another fluid, etc. The polymeric solutions, mud, etc., kerosene, these are all different liquids or fluids which are having different values of viscosity, and while flowing through the same medium itself, it offers different shear stresses. So how to estimate the shear stresses? Okay, so before explaining the estimation of shear stress, we should understand the velocity gradient. What I have just told is there is a velocity difference between the layers. So if you take two layers here, bottom layer and top layer, this is shown in a magnified way. The bottom layer having velocity small u, suppose, and the top layer is having velocity u plus du as per the velocity profile we have just seen. And suppose the incremental distance between the layers is small dy. Okay, this is a magnified view only. So what about the difference in velocity between the two layers? It is u plus du minus u, that is du, and incremental distance is dy. So there is a change in velocity dy for a small distance dy. Sorry, there is a change in velocity du for a small distance dy, and du by dy is termed as velocity gradient. So velocity gradient is change in velocity happening in a viscous fluid flow over a very small distance, that is du by dy. For example, if you take a practical case, if you try to pull a plate over a viscous fluid, suppose we have a surface, on the surface there is a thin film of viscous fluid, maybe for 4 mm, 5 mm, etc., and we try to pull a metallic plate over this thin film. What happens? What is dy there? Dy is the distance between the two solid parts, that is thickness of the oil film. Okay, what is du? Du is the difference in velocity between the layers. So one layer is adjacent to the stationary solid and the other layer is adjacent to the moving solid. So stationary solid means zero velocity. So velocity of the plate that is moving minus 0, that is a change in velocity, and dy is thickness of the liquid film. So that du by dy is a velocity gradient. So as per Newton's law of viscosity, the shear stress developed because of this viscous property is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. So tau, that is a shear stress. We designate shear stress as tau. Newton per meter square is a unit that is proportional to du by dy. So if it is a Newtonian fluid, tau equal to mu into du by dy, or any fluid that obeys Newton's law of viscosity, which is Newton's law of viscosity, tau equal to mu into du by dy is known as Newton's law of viscosity. That means there is a linear relationship between shear stress and velocity gradient. Okay, and there is a new term that is defined here, mu, that is the viscosity we are discussing, also known as dynamic viscosity. Mu is called the dynamic viscosity. So you should understand Newton's law of viscosity. it applies to Newtonian fluids. That means there is a linear relationship between the shear stress developed between the two layers and the gradient of velocity existing between the two layers of fluid. So any fluid that does not obey Newton's law of viscosity is known as a non-Newtonian. So majority of the fluids are non-Newtonian. So if it is a non-Newtonian fluid, there is an exponent like n du by dy whole raised to n. That means there is no linear relationship between tau and du by dy. Tau equal to mu du by dy whole raised to n means the exponent n is not 1 then if it is a non-Newtonian fluid. So as I already told, where the maximum shear stress happens, so velocity is 0 where there is maximum shear stress. So at the solid boundary the maximum shear stress happens, or where is the velocity gradient is maximum. Okay, when the velocity gradient is maximum, du by dy is maximum, tau is maximum. So maximum shear stress corresponds to maximum velocity gradient. So maximum velocity gradient at the solid boundary because of the no slip condition. And shear stress follows the reverse order of the velocity profile. That is what we have just said. So you have a small task for better understanding. So we have discussed the property of mass density, weight density, specific gravity or relative density, specific volume, specific mass, vapor pressure, saturation vapor pressure, and more elaborately the dynamic viscosity with respect to Newton's law of viscosity. It is also known as the fluid friction. So we have seen the effect of fluid friction, how the stress is developed, and we have classified fluids as Newtonian and non-Newtonian. So with this knowledge background, let us do a task. Prepare a table that gives the numerical value of the following properties of 10 fluids. In a 10 fluid you can take benzene, carbon tetrachloride, any fluid, kerosene, petrol, gasoline, mercury, that is also a fluid, oil, etc. And you list out the properties: mass density, vapor pressure, surface tension, dynamic viscosity, and specific gravity or relative density of these 10 fluids. So this will give you a comparative picture of these properties for these different fluids. So you should compare water with other fluids in terms of these properties, and then only you will be getting a better picture. You can include air also in the analysis. And the task 5 is, what is your understanding about the physical meaning of viscosity? How these properties developed in fluids? Restrict your description to 500 words. So rather than learning something and writing for examination, you should have a physical meaning. You should understand the physical concept behind each and every engineering concept, engineering explanation. So that physical meaning or understanding the physical concept of engineering is very important, especially regarding viscosity. Okay, and we'll discuss more on viscosity in the later videos. Thank you.